Welcome back to Race Report, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good Christmas and a great festive New Year, and hopefully everyone has had a bit of time to digest the end of season drama. So now I think it's a good time that we got stuck into my end of season review for 2021. Here we go. We'll start at the back of the grid as usual. Haas were our winners of the wooden spoon this year, and they've had a pretty horrid year, to be honest. But it could be argued that they never intended to have a good one in the first place. After barely surviving the COVID hit schedule last year, and they took drastic measures to find new sponsorship this year. This also coincided with taking on two new drivers, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. They also announced that all resources would be spent on the 2022 regulation changes rather than on the 2021 car. So even coming into the season, we knew that Haas weren't trying. It was all about building up experience for their rookies and using their money wisely. So let's hope that pays off next season. Alfa Romeo ended the season in 9th place after picking up 13 points. And the best word I could use to describe them would be inconsistent. Sometimes we saw amazing qualifying laps from Giovinazzi, and sometimes we'd see really great race pace from Raikkonen. However, it was never really consistent and it was never really capitalised on. For instance, every time Giovinazzi qualified well, he'd usually fall right back down the grid at the start of the race. It felt like they had a better car overall than the Williams, but they can never do the right place, right thing that the Williams did. Next season, we get an all-new driver lineup, with Raikkonen retiring, being replaced by fellow Finn Valtteri Bottas, and Giovinazzi being replaced by Guan Yu Zhou. He's going to be our only rookie for next season, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. In 8th, we had Williams, who hadn't scored a point in years. And then they go ahead and get a whole heap of them in 2 back-to-back races. I think we saw a gradual improvement in Williams last year, and that certainly carried over to this year. Williams are now a consistent sight in Q2 and sometimes even Q3. They scored the majority of their points in Hungary and the bit of a farce of the race that was Belgium. So the results there were definitely right place, right time, like I said earlier. But Williams did exactly what they needed to do on those days, especially Russell getting into 2nd place on the grid in Belgium. That was a fantastic qualifying from him. They did also go on a bit later to score a few more points in Italy and Russia, so a solid improvement on last season. But will they be able to continue that trend in 2022? They are of course losing George Russell for next season. He will be in the Mercedes, so we'll see a partnership of Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Next up, it's a bit of a surprise in 7th. We have Aston Martin. Aston were formerly Racing Point last season and finished 4th that year, so a bit of a fall from grace from them. This appears to come off the heels of an FIA technical regulation change at the start of this season, which greatly affected high-rate cars, most notably the Mercedes and Aston. While Mercedes managed to mitigate the damage, it doesn't look like Aston were able to, and they tumbled down the grid as a result. They did, however, bring in 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel from Ferrari, who at times performed very well, but often just didn't have the car to compete. Also, a shout out is deserved for Lance Stroll as well for having a solid showing. Very decent season for him. That team will be looking to push on for next year for sure. Lawrence Stroll is putting a lot of money into that team right now, and they made some key hires behind the scenes as a result to try and make that happen. In 6th place is of course AlphaTauri. They seem to love living around here. Gasly really made his mark last season, and his fine form continued into this season as he did most of the carrying early doors. I think everyone just expects him to do fantastic things with that car now, don't they? A very reliable Q3 merchant and strong race pace usually lands him somewhere in the top 6 or so. His teammate this year was rookie Yuki Tsunoda. He came in with a lot of hype at the start of the season, and he had a great first race, but then reality bit back a little bit. He had a bit of a slump towards the middle of the season, but he did come good at the end of the season, even ending in 4th place in Abu Dhabi. So hopefully we will continue to see that improvement into the next season as well. One interesting thing for the team in 2022 comes with Honda, their engine manufacturer, leaving the sport. So now they will be taking on the Red Bull engines, which are based on their current Honda engines, but will it be as good as the current iteration? Only time will tell. In 5th place, snatching it late in the season, is ALPINE, the new name for the old Renault team. And that wasn't the only change coming into the season. They also welcomed back the returning Fernando Alonso to the sport. He had a few typically Alonso moments across the season, single-handedly keeping Hamilton behind him long enough for his teammate Ocon to win the Hungarian Grand Prix is a highlight. And that was definitely the crowning moment for Alpine this season. But Alonso also did get a podium of his own in Qatar as well, so they've been very good. I think they probably would have wanted to be a little closer to that battle for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship, but they lacked a little consistency to apply that pressure. They do keep their driver pairing for next year, and it's definitely a great pairing to go into the new regulations with. In 4th, after a season-long battle, we have McLaren. It was definitely a season of two halves for McLaren, who started so strongly. Norris in particular was amazing. Their crowning glory would for sure be the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. A surprise result, just like Gasly's win a year before, we had a McLaren 1-2 with Ricciardo winning from Norris in 2nd place. That is a truly special result. Unfortunately for them, they didn't kick on from there after a mistake in the very next race in Russia cost Norris the win there as well. This led to a slump in form, ultimately costing them 3rd place in the championship. Another disappointment for them will be the form of Daniel Ricciardo. He was very slow to get started and even at the end still hadn't caught up to his less experienced teammate. This could easily be one of the best driver pairings on the grid if they can pull it all together. But the big question for 2022 is, will they? The team that beat them for 3rd place is of course Ferrari. While Ferrari didn't get any outstanding results like McLaren did, they were much more consistent across the whole season, getting stronger even as it went on. This was a massive surprise for me. After the torrid season they had last year, they bounced right back with the new arrival of Carlos Sainz settling in straight away and actually ended up beating his teammate Leclerc over the course of the season. Very impressive indeed. With their resources and driver lineup, they could be a serious threat next year. In 2nd place, after a titanic fight, is Red Bull. Of course, home to our world champion Max Verstappen, who was devastatingly consistent, either 1st or 2nd in every single race he finished except Hungary. This provided a strong backbone for their constructors' push. And not to mention the best championship fight we've seen in many years. He also had a new teammate this year with Sergio Perez coming into the team, and it did take some time for him to get up to speed, and ultimately that was the difference in the Constructors' Championship. Although a big boon for Red Bull will be that Sergio Perez was up to speed when it counted at the end of the season, and that's what mattered for Max Verstappen's Drivers' Championship crown. Red Bull are in the same situation that AlphaTauri are in, where the engine partner Honda is going away, so they are switching to using a Red Bull badged Honda engine, and they will be updating it themselves next season, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes from their perspective. And of course, our Constructors' Champions for 2021 are Mercedes. Won in the final race after a brilliant battle with Red Bull, but not really celebrated all that much due to that also being the race where Verstappen won the driver's title from Hamilton. It completes a dominance of the era for Mercedes, who have won the last 8 Constructors' titles in a row. But this was by far the closest anyone has come to knocking Mercedes off the top. And much like Red Bull, Mercedes had one driver leading the way, and of course that was Lewis Hamilton. He had a stellar season and is the other half of the best championship in so long. Bottas in comparison had a poor year by his standards. Although he was still very quick in qualifying, he could not translate that over to the races with 7 non-points finishes and several below par races. This not only hampered Mercedes in their defense of the Constructors' title, but also didn't help Hamilton a whole lot in his push to be Drivers' Champion either. As a result, next year the team will welcome George Russell in to spice things up, with Bottas of course going to Alfa Romeo. There are also rumours of Hamilton leaving due to the way the season ended. However, I don't think he's going to go out like that. I fully expect him to be in the car with Russell come 2022. Overall, we had a very special season. I think it's one we'll be talking about for a long time. We had new locations such as Qatar and Saudi, weird races, even if you can call it a race like Belgium, new trials like the sprint races, and of course lots of incidents to talk about. I'm looking at you, Abu Dhabi. I've loved bringing you the coverage this season. It's been so entertaining and I've loved hearing your opinions as we've gone along. So thank you for listening, for subscribing, and for liking all the videos this season. I really do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to getting stuck straight into the next season with you all as well. And in the meantime, you can look forward to me looking back at my early season predictions. Yes, I did make quite a few mistakes, so we can look forward to going over that together. I'll also be pulling back the Who Is series for our new arrivals next season. And of course, be making some 2022 predictions and all the coverage there as well. Anyway, what did you guys think of this season? Is there any special moments that happened for you along the way? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching that video. I really do appreciate the support. If you want to see more from me, I'm going to put a couple of extra videos on the left hand side of the screen here for you. Just go ahead and click on one of those. On the right hand side of the screen, I'm going to put a subscribe button. If you want to support me and support the channel, I very much appreciate it. Thank you.